Hello and welcome to the Work Smart Club. How are you all? First of all, welcome. It's nice to have you here, and it's felt like a little while actually getting everything set up from the introduction, and then just making sure I've got all the equipment and everything set up. But no, we are ready to go, and we have our first guest as well. I'll give him a little intro. He was actually my manager for about a year, I think 14 months. He was my manager, and his name's Nick. And to be honest, he was really quite a selfless manager, always put others first before him, and just wanted to know how you were really. And so, yeah, really nice guy. And I'm excited to have him on my channel. So, Nick, hello.
Hello, that was a lovely introduction. Literally, I was welling up here, mate. Um,
Thanks, man.
I'm going to say the feeling was mutual. You were very nice guy to me. No, you honestly really keen to learn, and this it's for the views in this podcast. This is all about you learning about people, and you always have that right. I want to apply myself, so that it was always a pleasure to manage you. So
Thanks, man. Thanks. I think it's if anyone hasn't heard the first episode, it's like a 3.5 minute bit on my Spotify, and it just on the podcast, and it just gives you a reason as to why we're here, what we're doing this for, and to find out what challenges people get, and what other people's successes are. So yeah, this is why we're here, and so yeah, I will just kind of jump into it. First of all, Nick, I want to have a little bit of an icebreaker with you,
yeah, go for it.
to get you nice and comfortable on the old podcast, buddy. So, um, what I've decided to do is I want to come around your house, and you are going to cook me a 3-course meal.
Yeah.
So that 3-course meal is your personality,
Hmm.
why who you are on a plate. Basically, I
Yeah,
want 3 courses to
cool.
describe you, buddy, if that's all right.
Cool. Bit presumptuous, just come around my house, but anyway, here we go.
Just
Um,
let myself in.
let yourself in. You know where the key is. So I thought a bit about this, and it is mostly my favourite foods, and they do relate. This is like my meal, the meal I would pick if I
Yeah,
was on death row, or if I could pick any meal in the world. This is what I would go for. So
death row's extreme, but it's
death row is extreme. I don't plan on being on death row, but
no, no, no.
dream meal would be this really. So for starters, it's Peruvian ox heart kebabs. So I had this
Wow.
maybe 2 to 3 years ago in a obviously Peruvian restaurant.
Yeah,
Um, the meal on the whole was disgusting. Like the whole meal
it doesn't
was so
sound like
the whole like the mains, desserts disgusting, the drinks disgusting. They
yeah.
overcharged us for elements of the meal. We asked for a refund. They were like, "Well, you order that," and it was like, "Yeah, we did order it, but it wasn't great." And yeah, but the starter I had was amazing. I had everyone else's food was all terrible, but the
Yeah.
starter that I picked was amazing. I was like, "What's everyone complaining about? This is amazing." So Peruvian ox heart kebabs. I picked it because it shows. Um, it's obviously one of my favorites, but it shows my character of that. I do go a bit left field. I'm not run of your mill. I will go off a tangent. I will know something or try something different, and not
Yeah.
afraid to kind of take a risk at times, or go a different way, or yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I've over the last 2 years, I've had a child, and that kind of risk taking's kind of was dampened a bit. But now, coming out of that, she's 2. I'm a
It's not to
bit more used to being a father now,
yeah.
so I'm back taking more risk, and recently started my own podcast, which you were on.
Yeah.
And yeah, that kind of thing. It does show I was always from 18 onwards. I just no, maybe even 16. And I started 16 when I kind of was like, right, that was my first risk I took, and I'll come back to that later. I took a
Yeah, yeah,
big
okay.
risk at about 16, and
Yeah.
then I just kept taking risks after that. Just kept
Okay.
doing stuff that wasn't what everyone else was doing.
So you just went left field with the ox heart
Yeah,
and thought, yeah,
yeah.
that's mine.
Yeah, I recommend everyone try it. It's really nice, but don't
Okay.
go to
What
that
made you
Peruvian.
choose? Ox heart. What was like?
So the menu was like everything sounded boring, really, and I was like, I don't. I do like offal. Like I'll have liver, I'll have kidney.
Yeah,
I've had oxtail. Um, I've tried chicken feet, don't like it, but I will. We'll give it a go. So
yeah,
it was
yeah,
just like, oh, and it's again, offal's not kind of something that everyone has on a day to day basis, but will try it. Um, so yeah, that just made me pick it. I'm always up for trying something new. So
yeah.
that was
It's it's funny. It's funny because like I think if I ever went to an Italian and there was a risotto,
hmm,
if I go to an independent Italian, I'll try the risotto. But if
yeah,
I go to a chain, I'm not having the risotto because I don't want a chained risotto.
yeah,
It's about trying something different, right?
yeah. So my main it,
Yeah,
risotto is one of my um signature dishes. I make a good butternut squash risotto,
yeah,
but I'm not going to pick that. I'm going to pick something that really represents my personality and my culture. So it's jerk pork, rice and peas, and fried plantain. And if it had to be from anywhere, it would be um, on the side of the road from Kingston to Montego Bay. There's this little shack, and he
yeah,
does it all in there, and it's really, really tasty. And I've got my parents are Jamaican. I
yeah,
went to Jamaica when I was like 6 months old, and for a period of time I went every 3 to 4 years up until
mm,
about 17, and then the flights just got too expensive. Once you start hitting, adult range, you get too expensive, and it
yeah,
started to space out. And the last time I went
yeah,
was about maybe coming up to 6, 7 years ago now.
yeah,
But like that that meal, that setting just represents kind of like um, family trait within, or kind of like cultural, it maybe even a stereotype trait, that just a
yeah,
laid back nature to try and avoid stress, try and avoid anxiety. Um,
yeah.
like I never like I can't remember the last time I lost my temper fully.
I've never
Really,
seen it at work. I've never seen you.
no,
Probably once, like
what?
if you've got really annoyed and
Yeah,
your face shows it. Like
yeah,
only once, I think I can remember.
yeah, yeah. I think there was I that was probably the last time, but I wasn't like I've been I didn't. I got annoyed at work, and I remember
Yeah,
when, and I won't go into it because it's not,
yeah,
a
of
thing to
course
go
not.
into. Um, but the last time, like I can properly, there was two occasions that come into mind now. The last time I lost my temper really badly was in Booker's, which is a
Okay.
weird place to lose your temper. So
Yeah,
I went into Booker's. Uh, we went in, and we forgot our wallet. So I went back out to the car to get my wallet, then went back in, and they refused to let me in because they said I didn't have, like, you need a card to shop there. And
yeah,
obviously, the person I was with, they, went on in the shop because I was like, I'll get my wallet, you go and get the stuff we need.
yeah,
Um, and they were like, yeah, you. When we first went in, there was no one there to check who if you had a card or not, which was
mm,
made it even more annoying. It's like, so I've come in on my own, um, and gone to get back in, and and the guy's like, "Where's your card?" I was like, "Oh, I've already been in. I've just literally gone to get my wallet. We've come in. We've got a card. It's
yeah,
with the person I'm with." And he was like, "Can I take the details of the card?" It's like, "Well, I don't have the card because they've got it." And I was like, "You can call. You can like. It's just like I'll go find them. I'll bring the card back." And I was like,
yeah,
"No, I need a name. I'm going to call it out on the tannoy." I was like, "This is ridiculous."
yeah,
Like, if it was so essential for the card to be there, why didn't you check us on the first time we came in?
yeah,
And he called the name over the tannoy, and the person I was with came over, handed the card over to the guy. And he was like, "Cool." And he didn't apologize. He didn't say, "Oh, really sorry." Or didn't explain anything. And I just lost my shit. I literally was just like, "This is like stupid."
yeah,
How,
yeah, yeah.
like, if it's so essential for the card to be, done, like, you need to be there at all time. There needs to be someone standing there checking cards. Yeah,
Process.
process.
Yeah,
And I was like, I mean, I just stormed out. I just literally, I've never been into that Booker since.
yeah,
Never ever been into that Booker since. And the other time I remember I got really annoyed and angry, it was five aside. I used to play a lot of football growing up, and then into like my what do you call it, like late 20s, and then I got
Yeah, yeah,
too old and too slow to play, so I stopped.
yeah.
Uh,
Fitness goes like
fitness goes and
yeah,
yeah more. So yeah, that went, and I'm not a competitive person, but there was this team that we just couldn't beat, and
yeah,
I don't know why. We're equally matched. We weren't like they weren't like far better than us, but we just didn't beat them. They always beat us by 1 or 2 goals.
yeah,
And there was this game we were like 5-0 up, and it was like 15 minutes left, and they kept chipping one away, getting us down to one, and the referee was just not calling any fouls, and I just literally I went up to the player caught me from behind. He clipped my ankles. Referee
yeah,
didn't blow or anything. Just let play go. And I was something to the referee. Oi, did you not see that? And he was like, "See what? Like what just happened there?" And he was like,
yeah,
"Yeah, he
yeah,
clipped your heel. So why didn't you blow?" It's like, and he was like, and I was like, "Exactly." And then I just went on the ball back and scored. I was like, "Come on, ref! Like you need to
yeah.
sort this out." And that's the two times I can remember I absolutely
Lost it.
lost it. Yeah,
No
just who
VAR.
yeah, no VAR. But yeah, in on the most part, I am a person who avoids stress and avoids like stressful situations. I try to be a laid back, try and be calm and cool, and
Yeah,
don't try to fly off the handle too much. Because partly I get like after I always feel so bad after I lose my temper. Always
yeah.
feel so bad, so I try not to do it because it's not. I don't like
It's
that
not
feeling
you.
afterwards. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't feel like me. I feel like I've become a different person. So
Yeah, just
yeah,
hold
yeah,
it. You've always been really like quite reflective, like from when I've known you, in terms of you've always thought the process,
yeah,
like what you're going to say and how you're going to act is what I've experienced of your managerial style essentially,
yeah,
without putting words in your mouth, like.
yeah.
But yeah,
I'll
that's
correct you if you're
cool.
wrong. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's when you get aggressive. So we've got an ox tart starter. Um,
Yeah,
just because, yeah, you like to take risks and you like to do something a bit different. You've gone for your jerk pork, which is true to you. You've got your Jamaican roots and you're pretty relaxed, laid back. You've got your setting, so hopefully you've set the scene for the audience.
yeah.
What are you having for mate with a dessert?
So again, all these things are my all-time favorite foods.
Yeah.
Um, so dessert is panna cotta, which
Oh,
sounds
nice.
like was it a random kind of like it doesn't really go with anything else on the menu. Really,
Yeah.
but I thought,
Yeah.
screw it, I'll have what I want. Just like this is me. So I can't remember where I had my first panna cotta, but I was like,
Yeah.
as soon as I tasted it, I was like, oh my god, this is so smooth and delicious and like melt in my mouth. And I was like, how have I never had this before? Like, why has no one told me this dessert existed?
Yeah.
And I've made it before. If it's on the menu, I always get it. No matter the flavor, no matter what it comes with, I always get it. And I find that panna cotta can take most flavors really well. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of reflects me as well because I'm quite an easy person to get on with. Um, and like I can, like I have, you know, and that again that reflects my management style. I can try and see the best in everyone or see how to get through to someone. And it sounds like a bit boring, really, but a
Nah.
panna cotta kind of represents that part of me. Is that person that is right? If you like um, cars, I can talk to you about cars. If you like fashion, I can talk to you about fashion. I can get to a point where we have some common ground,
Yeah.
and I think that panna cotta is that kind of it absorbs flavors. It can take anything. It can, and I think that kind of where my mind was with that about my
Yeah. Yeah.
personality. So yeah,
No,
that's
I
it.
like that. I like that. Just don't ever get it wrong for pancetta. I worked in a bar once.
Oh mate,
I didn't, mate. I hadn't been there long. I know this podcast's about you, but I got to tell you this story. I was working in the bar in the restaurant, and I went over to a table, like a lovely, lovely group of people, and I read out what was on the menu for the
yeah,
dessert, and I think it was like a brownie. There was something else, and I was like, in the pancetta, and the woman was like, I think you meant to say panna cotta. I was like, oh God, like, it's just embarrassing. So, but no, I
yeah,
am with you with the panna cotta. Though that's, but no, I think that this is why I like this exercise because I think it sums you up really well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, like
I put a lot of thought into it. I thought, you know what, I've got my, favourite foods in there, but also my favourite foods kind of do sum me up as a person, and like even the food, I think food's very reflective of who you are as a person. Like, there's some people that when they go to their favourite curry house, they'll go for the spiciest because
yeah,
either they like taking a risk, or they like, showing off or being
yeah,
macho, or sometimes they just like spicy food. But it does show
yeah,
a part of you, or someone will always get, an apple crumble. Maybe they're traditional. Maybe they got good traditions. Maybe they just like homely flavor. Maybe they're a comfort person and they like, being at home and stuff like that. I do think it shows what
yeah.
kind of person you are, and it's a good question to get going with. So
Yeah, it gets your brain thinking, and
yeah,
it's quite a universal topic. You can
yeah,
always find common ground over a meal, right?
yeah,
So, but no, thank you, thanks for obviously going into detail there. Like that's
yeah,
exactly what I wanted. So
yeah,
perfect. So you opened up a little bit about your family life in terms of
yeah,
your Jamaican roots, and so tell me a little bit about you growing up.
yeah. So I grew up in North London.
Yeah,
I was born in South London, in Wandsworth, but then we moved to North London.
yeah,
I don't really know why. I think it was just,
got a big move.
yeah, quite a bit. I was like 1 or 2. Like,
Oh, okay.
it wasn't like an age where I was settled. It was just I think my mum lived in South London at the time, and my dad lived in North London, and they
Yeah,
just moved that way because I think it was just I think the
work.
house prices probably were cheaper in
Okay.
North London, and even back then, house prices were, compared to now, they're probably like get 5 grand in a house for like 80 grand, whereas now
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
only get a 2 bed, and you can only get Help to Buy share in it before
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get,
Or a
so
shed.
yeah,
Yeah.
share, yes. Um, but yeah, we moved to North London, and then that's where we've been ever since, really. As a child, I was a quiet child, very shy. Um,
Yeah.
um, like if you watch videos of me as a kid, I don't really talk. I don't really say a lot.
Yeah.
Um, I'm quite in pictures. I'm quite close to like family members. I'm not running off anywhere. I'm always like near to people I know. So I was quite shy, and I didn't really grow out of that shyness.
Why was that?
I have no idea. I have no
Yeah.
idea why I was that shy, because I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm a shy person now. I think um, I would say I still am, but what I try to do is, like, find a topic that someone's like, we both like, I'll just bring up a topic and see if what the person says, and then
Yeah.
I can
Not
go in,
pitching, just throwing
yeah,
a hook,
throw
like
throwing a hook out there and see what it says. I don't really know, because my brother is the complete opposite. He is loud, outgoing. He is, like, literally, like, will chat to anyone. He will be involved in everything.
is he older?
He's younger, so
Okay.
I don't really know how that happened. I don't really know why I was shy, because
Yeah.
it's not something I feel like I'm shy, but in a different way. I was shy, like a quiet child, like never said anything. On my school reports as a kid, it's like, "Nick is very quiet. Nick is very quiet."
Yeah.
All teachers would say that, um, and even to a point where they said, "Nick is very quiet, but he gets all the answers right. We'd like him to speak up a bit more." So
Yeah.
that was way throughout all my schooling, was that point. And then around like 16, like maybe 16,
Yeah.
um, I started to come out a bit my shell more. Um, but yeah, I don't really know why. But on the whole, like, my childhood was good. I remember my mum and my dad took us everywhere possible. We went to Jamaica for every couple of years.
Yeah. Nice.
Been to Spain, to Miami. We've been to Canada.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, we've been to France, and they just took us everywhere. And they like all the like every summer our you know was packed full of activities. My mum would be the one that gets all my friends round and like has
House
kids
full of
over, house full of kids, taking them
yeah.
places, take like 15 kids to the zoo on her
Yeah.
own, and that maybe that's what she was trying. She was trying to bring me out my shell a bit more. Maybe she was that's part of it. I don't know. Now I'm
Yeah.
like
It's
psychoanalyzing
interesting when you
my childhood.
no, but it's interesting. Like, I think the reason I like to talk about
Yeah.
childhood, and I think the reason like I like to, I from this is a very new podcast to me, and what I like to do is, what I want to try and find a correlation between is that I think that there's a real correlation between how you are as a child and your characteristics and
Mhm.
what you want to do to how that plays out when you're older and
Yeah.
your job and how you are as a manager. And
Yeah.
you're painting a really lovely photo of how you were, and that family was important, and
Yeah.
that you let other people not take the limelight but answer the questions, but you was intelligent enough to maybe just sit there and write those answers. And and even being my manager, you can definitely see that. And
Yeah.
which is already a kind of a tick for me, because it's like, well, there's a direct correlation, but
Yeah.
I kind of want that to come from you. So moving
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
You-
So my childhood was very much like always fun filled, lots of stuff. But I was thinking about this, and we spoke about this. Like we went on a walk, a
yeah,
social
yeah,
distance walk the other day, and we spoke
yeah,
about like my parents always projected like happy experiences to us. Like there was constantly parties. We would constantly be at like cousins' houses, and having fun, and like there would be like music, there'd be dancing and stuff like that. But
yeah,
a lot of the negative experiences, like when by the time I hit year 7 or year 8, I'd been to, like, 7 funerals,
yeah.
and, like, I don't really remember, anything like, and this is not a dig at my parents
No, no, go on.
or my family or stuff like that. It's just I think what they were trying to I don't really remember anyone talking me through that,
Yeah,
those experiences, and a negative experience wasn't really something that I think a lot of parents try to do that nowadays, is protect their children, or maybe not so much these days, but in the past, protect their children from that arguments or funerals or stuff like that. And I think
yeah,
that's had an impact on me later in life. And it's not until recently that I've managed to kind of come to terms with that a bit more, and find my own ways of coping with that.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it was just a protection thing, that now I have a daughter, I could fully see why you would want to protect your child from
Resonate with that.
some of
Yeah,
the painful things that can go on in your life. But at the
yeah,
same time, like I try and tell my daughter, I'm feeling sad today, or don't
yeah,
worry, daddy's just crying about this. He'll be there. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be upset. I
yeah,
try and have a balanced version of that. And
yeah,
yeah, this is nothing against my mum, my dad, my family, or anything.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just literally they were. It's just something that what 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 I've read about is like when you parent, you reparent yourself. So when you become a parent, you try and fix the problems that, or not problems, but the areas that you thought were missing in your childhood.
Hmm.
And maybe that was something that was missing in my mum and dad's childhood, that they were exposed to more hardships, and they were trying to protect us and give us the best possible, happiest kind of experience.
yeah,
And then me going forward is like, right, I don't want to expose my daughter to the hardships, but I don't want to say that it's all, candy floss and rainbows. There are
yeah,
some difficult bits that you'll have to go through. And me being vulnerable with her shows that it's okay to be vulnerable herself.
yeah.
Um,
I
and
think
then,
that
yeah,
from it's your childhood and your experiences shape you. And I think every experience, negative or positive experience, things have an impact to how you are and how you progress, and you know what you want to do in life. So moving on to your, thanks for sharing all that, by the way.
yeah,
That
no
was
problem.
generally like, it's because it's important. I think it's important to talk
Yeah,
about how you were as growing up, and you can reflect yourself. And
yeah,
so
yeah.
moving on to your kind of your first job come about.
Oh, first job. My first job was, I've got my CV up because I could not remember. So my first proper job, I did work experience at a sports centre, and they
Yeah,
had me picking up rubbish, and I
yeah,
left after the first day. I was like, this is not like, this is not this is a little picking. I didn't like expect that to be at the sports center. Like literally the first day, there was like you're going to be pretty much picking up rubbish around the site, and I was like,
Yeah.
that it? And they were like,
I did-
yeah. And I was like, I'm not going back there.
yeah,
So
fair enough.
on my first proper job, which I had, it was a summer job. Um, I worked for my mum. My mum worked for the NHS. She's a health visitor, and I got a job with her as an admin person. So I sorted out their files, but made bookings. I sent out letters.
Yeah,
Um, I, you know, it was a period where everything was slowly moving digital. So I scanned a lot of
yeah,
files in. I organised their paper files. I put them in a new storage cupboard they had installed,
yeah.
and that was a lot. It was around the time, like this sounds like really bad that I didn't have a job until, but I was
Nah,
18 when I got my first job, and I know a lot of people like, well, I had a paper round at 7. I was down the mines at 4, but I just
yeah,
there was just no need. I was
yeah,
very lucky not to have to work until I was like about 18,
yes.
and um, it was around the time of swine flu was
Okay.
rife. So I did a lot of like people calling and saying, I have symptoms. And there's like, yeah, don't come here. Tell us what your symptoms are and we'll have a doctor call you back. So I did a lot of that and just general, just like admins, like office work, really. That
Yeah.
was my first job. And then I didn't get another job until 2 years later because again, I didn't really need, I was very lucky. Like,
You said education, wasn't it? You was at
yeah,
university.
yeah,
But
yeah. I was at university, and luckily enough, like my student loan, and I had my mum and my family were able to support me enough to say that I didn't have to work. And education is like a massive thing in my family. Like my mum was a super strict. Was
yep.
prioritized education was a priority. She was like, I don't care what you do, but you have to get an education. And like, I think it was just the kind of the timing of me growing up. Like when I was 4, Stephen Lawrence was murdered, and then I went to like in my teenage years, knife crime and gang culture was really high. And my mum was like, that is not the path we want for I want for our
Yeah.
boys. And she was just
Yeah.
like, she went hard on education, getting good grades, like always being at school on time, always being at school. I had 100% attendance for like all of my secondary school. I never took a day off.
That's good. That's
And
good.
it's a lot of pressure though to
Yeah.
be under, and like I was never like the smartest person. I would say there was always people like smarter than me, but I was always like in the top 10 or in the top set of that class. And there's to a point because it was drilled into me so young from primary school, learning was really easy. Like for
Yes.
me, I don't find difficult things to learn, and I still enjoy learning now. Like I still like watch YouTube videos about stuff, watch documentaries about science and history, and listen to podcasts about similar things, and I just find it easy to absorb information. So
Yes.
I was very lucky throughout my and I just carried on into uni. I was very lucky to like not have to do that and really focus on uh, my learning. So I didn't have a job for about 2 years, and then I did. I went to uni to do fine art, and I did my BA and my MA at Portsmouth University. And I had one job in my BA years, which was a workshop facilitator. So I went around
Yeah.
to the local colleges in Portsmouth. There was about 6 or 7, and I did some workshops about their future and how they hope what they hope for their future and how they expressed it through art. I
Okay.
did workshops with 15 to 250 kids, um, and that was, quite a big thing. And then we did an
Yeah.
exhibition towards the end of it, and I helped out with that. And
Yeah.
then another 2 years passed, and then
There's
again,
definitely a theme here, like
yeah.
a 2-year
Then
theme.
my next job was like working at a counselling service,
Yeah.
and this was like to my MA, like was slightly a bit more expensive than my BA, like in terms of I wasn't eligible for more funding because I already had a BA. MA is something that if you choose to do it, they kind of say, well, you're choosing this, you should probably pay some of your way to it. So I did have to get a job in that period.
Yeah.
So I worked at Portsmouth Counselling Service, which was around drug and alcohol and substance misuse,
Yes.
um, and all kinds of things like family problems, uh, marriage counselling, relations counselling,
Wow.
stress,
Real,
anxiety,
real
depression.
range.
Yeah, real range. Um, and I was just an administrative assistant, and I was again did paperwork, booked them in. I did the 6 till 9 p.m. shift a lot because after I finished uni, I could go there straight away, and I
Yeah.
would just prepare the day's work for the next lot of people to come in, answer the buzzer, the door for anyone coming in for their evening counselling sessions,
Yeah.
and then I would lock up, take the bins out. Oh, there was a horrible part of that job, which was cleaning the toilets, and the women's toilets were always gross. There was one. This is
Just in general.
it's a general thing wherever I've been anywhere where I've had to, like, clean toilets or go into a lady's toilet for whatever reason,
Yeah.
they're always far worse than the men's, always. Um, and that makes me sound creepy just going into ladies' toilet. There's always been a
Yeah.
reason, like, I've
You weren't
been
even
told.
you weren't even cleaning them.
I've been told to. I've been, someone's told me to go in there, like, someone who's worked there to say, "Right, can you go in there?" There's never been women in there,
Yeah.
and
Just a disclaimer.
just digging a hole here. But yeah, there was one time there was just a tampon stuck to the wall with blood, and I was like, "Okay, this is gross." But
Yeah.
yeah, I used to
Unnecessary.
close up, and I did that job for about 3 years alongside. No, yeah, I did it 3 years alongside my MA. So I
Yeah.
did. I took a couple. There was a year or so between my end of my BA and the start of my MA, like maybe 6 to 9 months, where it was just like it hadn't started yet, and then I did. But yeah, probably about roughly about 3 years there,
Hmm.
and then after, um, in part of my second half of my in my second year of my MA, I got another job alongside that, um, uh, which was no. So my MA was really, really, really tough. I've remembered I've had quite a few jobs in that period. So
Yeah.
because it was just there was no money available, and like the cost difference was just something my mum and my family couldn't afford. So I had
For sure.
went to counselling service in the evening. In on the I only had to be in uni on Tuesday and Thursday for the MA. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I worked at a place called uh, Corporate Asset and Business Standards for Portsmouth City Council. So basically, they had like enterprise centres where um, entrepreneurs and startups would run out of, and they'll get their idea off the ground and try and grow and grow and grow. And the council would support them. So I worked there, and
Yeah.
then at the weekends, I used to work at a library,
Yeah.
and I would work there either a Saturday or Sunday, or sometimes I would do a double shift there, and
Okay.
that was the most boring job ever. I hate the library job. As soon as I could quit that, I'd quit it. It was
Okay.
so boring, so dull. And all these jobs have nothing to do with my degree, because I don't know how many people know, but an art degree and art jobs are very difficult to come by because it's a lot of public funding, which means,
Yeah.
and there's very in a if you're in London, there's loads of jobs, but in like um, towns, cities away from London, it's a lot harder.
Do you find
Uh,
that frustrating?
yeah, I do a lot. I do a lot, but part of my kind of like coming back to proving Oxhart's
Yeah.
skewers is I took risks. I
Yeah.
did for about 5 years within my BA right through to my finish my MA, and even before that. So I started doing exhibitions of my own. I became a curator. Um,
Yeah.
just started organising exhibitions, organising music gigs, organising like artwork for businesses, and I did that for about 5 years. I ran one, two. I'm just looking at my three,
Yeah.
four, five, 6 gallery spaces over 5 years, just sourcing artwork for people, putting up in their shops,
Yeah.
and they're like coffee shops, barbers, a dentist. I did some work for the library because obviously I worked with the library. I did some uni buildings as well that I knew people at, and it's because there was no real jobs of such, or there was very few jobs, but there's a high number of applicants. I was just like, I'm just going to do something for myself. And there's an area in Portsmouth called Southsea, and it is all about people just getting on and doing their own thing because that's the kind of people that are drawn to that area. So
Yeah.
I did a lot of work and I built a lot of connections with a lot of artists in that area and still friends with some of them now and still, support them where I can.
Yeah.
And then when I moved to Kent, I got a job at Stour Valley Arts as an intern and I helped them do a couple of shows and organize what they're called. Oh, I can't remember what it's called. When an artist comes in and does, and what is that
Like
word?
some kind of promo or
Yeah, no, they sit. They South Valley Hearts had like a cabinet in the woods, artists in residence. So they came in, stayed in the cabin in the woods, and they created artwork, and then it was displayed after what they created in that period. Um,
okay.
and it was a really really fun place to work. Really interesting. I met a lot of good people there. I met a guy that made sausages, which is really random, and he gave me a batch of his sausages that he made.
Perfect.
Um, so I made really good like connections there, and then they kind of they lost funding and they completely went out of business. They no longer exist. I think the artwork that they do have, which because they mostly were outside art in the forest, is now managed by the National Forest Committee.
Yeah.
So they managed that, but they completely just was wiped off the face of it, like don't exist anymore. And that's when I kind of like I'm now at that point 27, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of thinking of like
What'd you do?
what do I do? I want to start a family. I want to buy a house, and it was just such an uncertain um, area to be in that I was kind of like that's when I stopped taking risks. Really, I stopped taking risks because I was like, there's things I want to do that require a steady income that I can't guarantee, and
This is
that's when
what
I
I
joined
go on.
Holiday Extras.
Yep. Yeah. This is what I find. This is what I like, and this is what I am so intrigued because, in terms of motivating other people listening,
Mm,
and in terms of seeking opportunities and giving people that encouragement that you've you've realized you've come to a realization at your age of 27, gone right, okay, I need to settle, I need to do something, um and I need some longevity. And this is where I, in terms of your career at Holiday Extras, in terms of um, you pushing yourself to, because you are now a manager and a, I'd say, a successful manager and what you've achieved. So I'm really intrigued now to hear your story about how you became a manager and how you continue to push yourself
yeah,
to, because it wasn't a first application, congratulations, here's your management card,
yeah. No, and you don't get a management card ever. I'll say that now. Like
Hmm.
I am 2 years into being a manager, and I still am learning lots because when you manage people, it's so unpredictable. You don't know what you're going to face. Like the day to day, the day to day of the team I manage is live chat and emails, and you know that you're going to get them, but you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know how your team are going to feel when they come in each day. Someone might be happy, someone might be good, someone might be down, having a tough time, and you've got to kind of get the best out of some. If someone's too like, you get people that are too happy, too excitable, and then they distract other people. So you kind of got to get the best out of them in a
Yeah.
way that helps other people as well.
Yes.
So it's all about that balance. So um, initially when I joined, I was like, right, I just need to have a steady job at somewhere that I know that I'll get money in, and then I can start thinking from then. So I had a telephone interview, um, and then and it was like sell us a holiday,
Yeah.
which I think they still do now as
I
part of
think they
it.
do. Yeah, they
Um,
do.
Still do that.
Experience and what have
Yeah,
you.
and I did that, and then they said, yeah, that's good. Come in for actually in person interview, and that went well. And yeah, that went really really well. And then I got a phone call back say, yeah, you start in March. You have to pass on boarding, and I was going to say this. On the phone,
Go
I was terrible.
on.
I'm
Okay.
not a sales person per se. I'm not. a pushy
Yeah.
person because of my laid back nature.
Yep.
I wasn't, I didn't hit targets that often. I was, I barely passed my onboarding, I would say.
You're
Um,
still on the side of the road with your jerk pork, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Too laid back for my own good. And
Yeah.
a part of sales is kind of like not being pushy, but being direct. And
Mm.
that's not my, it wasn't my strongest point at that time. I feel like got better at being direct because I'm in it's more comfortable setting. Like on the phone, you don't know what it can take a while to know what customer you have, and you don't have long because there's a
Mm.
time frame. Whereas as a manager, you can build that relationship with someone, and you can know who you can just go right, stop doing that, or someone you can like
Yeah, yeah.
you can build that. And with on the phone, use like 10-minute window to kind of gauge a customer, get offer them a product and that, and it just wasn't my thing. But I could see that there was a team starting to grow called Multichannel, which was dealing with live chat, emails, and customers online basically.
Yeah.
And my through my learning, my love of learning, I've been watching videos and watching kind of stuff about machine learning, about AI, about the way the world was moving with like lots more people communicating with their phones and stuff. And I was like, hang on a second, that is going to be longevity because one, it seemed like a cheaper way to do it. It seemed
Yeah.
like they were serving more customers, um, and it seemed like just a way that a lot of companies were moving. I was noticing at the time more and more live chat services popping up around different websites, not just with it at Holiday Extras, but like NatWest,
Yeah, yeah.
um, Amazon,
EE.
yeah,
EE do it now,
EE,
yeah.
like even now, like my local garage has a live chat service. I'm like, who's manning that? Like, I don't see who's manning that. But
Even this
yeah,
podcast help, the programs I use
yeah,
to chat them like, I don't know what I'm doing.
yeah.
Go through.
And I just saw something that was like, right, that is longevity.
Direction, yeah.
That's going to give me a job that I can keep having.
Yeah.
And that was my focus, is like making sure I had a job to build to these goals I wanted, house and kind of kids and stuff like that.
Can I
Um,
jump in?
yeah, go jump in.
Um, the when you in terms of looking at your own progression,
Yeah,
um, so you got onto the multi-skill team, and what I think's really important to discuss is that when people push themselves for progression
yeah,
and the what you learn from your knockbacks,
yeah.
and so just if you can go into a little bit of detail about so how, how you felt at after applying for a role, and you know what advice would you give, and how did you feel?
So the multi-channel role when I was an agent, the way so it was at that time the team was very much in its infancy. I just sat near the team, looked at the system we're using, found out what it was, and learned everything about it in my own time. And
Yeah,
that's one of the key things I would say to everyone out there is that if you want to progress in your career, you can't just be doing it at work. You have to do it in your own time.
yeah,
You have to go outside because that is where you're gonna that shows that you're dedicated, that you want it. If you are just learning while you're on the job, then it shows that right, you're only committed to doing it this time. If you go outside that, you will see benefits from all that. But at the time, the multi-channel team was just in its infancy, and they just asked me to join. There was no formal
yeah,
interview. It was just
yeah,
like, "Yeah, Nick, do you want to join? You sit near us most days. Just be on the team."
yeah,
But when it came to the manager's job, I um, so the multi-channel team has had a lot of managers because they weren't the business at the time didn't really have an idea of what was happening
yeah.
with that team and where it
The
wanted to go.
structure,
It didn't have a vision or a structure
yeah,
to it. I think it had 7 managers in the end. I think I'm the 8th manager of that team.
yeah,
Um, and then so I I could see that, and I didn't apply for the manager job straight away,
yes,
because I could see that there wasn't really a clear structure. The system was good, and the idea was good. I could see the longevity, but there wasn't a vision from the business of how it was going to cope, and it seemed like they were just handing it to people that didn't really want it, to do it and
Yeah.
just were doing it. But I did apply for a Scrum Master position or Agile coach. I can't remember which one.
I
And I
think it's,
applied,
yeah, agile coach, was it? I think I can't.
yeah, applied
Oh,
for an Agile coach role. And then before that, I applied for a developer role. The
yeah,
developer role one was my application, like my interview for that was shocking. And that's one of the knockbacks that I was like, right, hands up, I fully deserve that.
yeah,
I I did my research, I looked into some things, and then when I got to the interview, my mind just went completely blank, and I
yeah,
could not remember anything I learned, I looked into, and literally I came out of it, I was like, "I didn't get that job. I know I didn't." And when they gave me the feedback, I was like, and they started talking about, like, "You didn't really seem to know." I was like, "Yeah, I agree." I just my mind went blank, and I just completely different. And they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah," because it was very weird. You didn't know any of the answers. I was like,
yeah,
I just literally my mind went blank, and I should probably have said something. It's like, literally, I'm sorry, my mind's gone blank. I can't remember anything. And they
yeah,
probably the company kind of come on it. They probably would have rescheduled, but
yeah,
in that moment where you're like, I can't say that I don't know what I'm talking about here.
yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
like I was too deep in.
Just hitting a brick wall, and you just
Yeah,
start. And you said you go off pace sometimes as well,
yeah, yeah,
like from a youngster. And yeah,
yeah,
I could imagine probably a quite strange conversation.
yeah, yeah.
So, what did you learn from that?
So I learned
What
that.
advice would you give to other people in that position?
So I learned you should probably just. One of my things is probably just say just is vulnerability. Just say, look, I'm not 100% here. Like my brain's gone blank, and 9 times out of 10, I would say, especially in a company like Holiday Extras, it might not be relevant for like a more cutthroat company, might not be appreciated, but at least you know that you're not half-assing it, you're giving it your all. And I
Yeah,
felt
yeah,
like that one sticks with me because I've like, I didn't give that 100%. I only gave that 10%. If I gave that 100%, I probably would have got that job. I probably would have been, on my way to be a software developer,
yeah,
which I, thankfully I'm not doing because I
yeah,
really love the job I have now.
yeah,
And the agile coach one, I did really well. I prepped for that insanely. Prepped for that,
yeah.
like insane amount of prep.
We
Um,
saw the effort you put in as well for that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I did a lot of preparation for that,
mm,
and that one was just a case like they were like, "You are really." It was a really good feedback. There was like, "You are really interesting um, candidate to have," and it was like, "We want to see more from you." But I think they just said at this moment in time, you're just not ready for it. There's couple more people that were more experienced than you
yeah,
in that. Like they worked closer with the web team at the time, and they knew a bit more about it.
mm,
And that was a hard one to take as well because I was like, I knew that I could do that job, and I just knew it. And when you're like the web side of things and the tech side of things were like I was like that can all be learned. And I think they was just a kind of the kind of business holiday extras are is they want to hit the ground running, and
yeah,
they probably were like, we don't have time to wait for that.
yeah,
So that knockback was hard because I then realised what kind of but the lesson that I realised what kind of business holiday extras were. They want to get going as soon as they can possibly. They're willing to help someone, but they want to be like, right, we're only helping you
yeah.
for a bit. After that, you're good to go.
But to feed back from that, that
Yeah,
is, that it doesn't mean that you're not the you're not you're not the right fit. You're not just not ready at that time. And I think,
yeah, and I think that's a massive. Sometimes a rejection is like um, you're just not ready at that moment.
yeah,
So I can't remember who said it, but there's rejection is just redirection.
yeah,
So it's
you
not
can,
you're not being said no. You're being told right. You're not quite ready. You just need to go on this path and come back round,
yeah,
and then you'll be ready. And
keep
that's what
developing yourself.
that's keep developing. So when I went for the manager's jobs in that period, because agile coach and the manager job was very similar, I had prepped a lot and done a lot between those periods of how to improve on what they were saying and be ready for the next role.
Yeah,
And I like I prepped a lot for the agile coach, but the manager role I took way more seriously. Like I produced documents basically for my interview,
yeah,
like pages and like at least 6 pages of documents that I could. give examples to every single point they were going to ask. Okay, so if they asked me about when's the last time you did this, I had 5 examples. When's the last
Yeah.
time you demonstrated this, I had 5 examples. I had examples and examples and examples. And I would say to people, an interview is not a test. You can take notes. You can take, because I think that's again what I learned from the software developer role was that I could, if I took notes, I probably would have been better. That
Yeah.
I and that's what learned from that. So I took loads of notes into the manager role, and I was just
On it.
on it. And before that, the manager role was coming up. I was asking for more responsibilities. I was stepping up. I was helping the team. I was, learning as much as I could about the business and where the live chat system wanted to go and where online customer service was going in general. Researching, signed up to blogs, signed up to as many things as I could, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts,
Yeah.
and literally it became an obsession. I was like, sometime I would offer to do work out of hours. Like, so to make a change in the system would require out of hours work sometimes because it would mess up the day or mean
Yeah.
we lose customers. So I was like, say, yeah, I'll stay up till after 9, like work for
Mm.
2 hours to 11. You know, working on the system, or sometimes when we used to shut at 11, I would work past 11 until 1 a.m. in the morning to make the changes, just to show that I was willing
Yeah.
and I was more than capable to do that.
But that's
And
paid off. That's paid off
it
in
has
tenfold.
massively paid off. And like I've not stopped like since then. I've been trying to learn as much as I could about being a manager because I want to progress, and I thoroughly enjoy like helping people.
Mm.
And a manager is someone who facilitates a team or an individual achieving their goals, and
Yeah.
that's what I like to see. I like to see people achieve their goals. I would say, part of my personality that's not portrayed in my meals is that I'm a very supportive person.
Yeah.
So, for example, Callum, if you told me you want to be an astronaut, I'd be like,
Yeah.
cool, let's go get the books on astronauts. Let's go watch a video on how to be an astronaut. Let's go do the training. What needs to be an astronaut?
Yeah.
What books do you need to read? I will go find those things for you to help you get to that goal.
Do you know what
And
though,
that's
Nick?
yeah,
I think that, and again, this is what I'm so interested to find out because
yeah,
your jobs along your way that you've had are a result of, I believe, where you are now. You may disagree, but
yeah,
you say, for example, you worked for the NHS. You
yeah,
did admin. Um, with Swite, I know the flu is quite topical right now, but
mm,
you were constantly helping people.
yeah,
You went to the count. You worked for a counselling service.
yeah,
Again, where you are around people who are trying to help people.
yeah,
You use a support role for the council. Everything that you've done, you may say that you took these jobs, you stumbled across these jobs, but actually you found these jobs because you resonated towards that type of role. It may be
yeah.
subconsciously kind of flickering and going, oh, that seems interesting. And it
You, you
sums
know
up
what?
now.
You know where it is in my family. So my my family is primarily from like education background. My mum is a nurse, health visitor, a support
Yep.
role, helping people get better or help people take care of children. My dad was an IT technician, so supporting businesses make sure their systems were correct. Now he's a football coach, so he's supporting young footballers in their
Yeah.
development. My brother's a football coach. I've got doctors, I've got nurses, I've got teachers, I've got priests in my family.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense. It's a kind of like that person that supports people, and maybe that's just a family trait. We have a group of people that like to make people achieve their goals, be supportive, make people
Yeah.
get back onto
So
their feet.
maybe for someone who is out there listening and thinking, do you know what, I don't know what I want to do, where I'm going, and what direction I want to go to. Maybe the answer is closer to home than they think, because
Yeah,
if they look at their traits, if they look at their parents, what they're
yeah,
doing, what they've learned, and I think that's a good lesson to listen to what your journey has been to where you
yeah,
are now, and to go, well, do you know what, and it would be interesting as I talk to a lot more people, and it's where they are now to who they were as a kid and what their upbringing has been like. And I think that's why it's nice to spend a lot of time speaking about upbringing and
Yeah,
why you made the decisions you did, these subconscious decisions as a kid growing up, your education.
yeah,
And yeah, I find it fascinating. So I just want to put a message out there really to anyone who is kind of, at a loose end or lost in a directional sense of work.
yeah,
Actually, the answer might be closer, and so
yeah. Especially at this time when there's a lot of uncertainty.
yeah,
Like for reference, this is 2020, 2021. For
yeah.
anyone listening back to this podcast,
Stumbling
don't look
across this 5 years time, like
don't look back at that history books if you know about it. But yeah, it's a very uncertain time, and you need to maybe you're being made redundant, or your job is not certain, or you are furloughed and you're kind of like at a loose end, or just use this time to think about what you could possibly do
yeah,
to going forward. And it may be that you're thinking like, I'm actually very satisfied in what I'm doing, and that's good to know. It's good to
yeah,
know that. But if you're not satisfied, how can you start, working your way to being content?
yeah,
Even like that whole supportive thing is now kind of, you know, opened my eyes up to like, as a creator, you are supporting. Like my prime thing was supporting local artists get their work out there,
mm,
because what was a big struggle in Portsmouth was there wasn't many galleries.
okay,
There was maybe 2 or 3 galleries in Portsmouth,
yeah,
and there was all these businesses along this road, Albert Road, with big white walls, and I was like, "That's like a gallery." But
big
with
up
that,
Albert Road.
yeah, big up Albert Road, that's like a gallery. These are
Yeah,
gallery spaces that, one, more people are likely to go into. I picked locations like a dentist, a barber's, a hair salon, what's the other one? A coffee shop where people sit and wait, and they're sitting and
mm,
they can absorb something and can look at artwork and look and take the time. Whereas I don't know when's the last time you've been to an art gallery,
yeah,
but you find people go in, look at one piece of art. Oh yeah, that's nice. Next one. Oh yeah, that's nice. Next one. Oh
yeah,
yeah, that's nice. Next one. It's there's very few people that go in and just sit and absorb the work. Whereas in a dentist, that's or a hair salon or a barber's,
mm,
or a coffee shop, you are just sitting and waiting.
yeah,
There's nothing, you can't move on to the next one. You're here. So for a dentist, you could be waiting 10, 20 minutes, and you could stare at a bit of artwork for 10, 20 minutes.
yeah.
Whereas in an art gallery, it feels, for me at the time, it felt like, right, seen it, seen it, seen it, seen
Like
it.
forced fun.
Force one.
Yeah,
Even exhibitions at art galleries was like, right, go and have a look. Where's the free drinks?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I,
Where's the
I've
lady with the
done
coffee?
I've done that before. I've gone into an art gallery just because there was like free booze, free cheese. Like that's what it was about, and I felt like there were like I made quite a few sales through those, like, not no while people were there, but off the
Yeah,
back of that, artists went on to make quite big sales and quite like get work out of it, which as an artist is a very hard thing to do.
but
Uh,
this also ties in again with your your nature and your characteristics and where you've come and where you are now
yeah,
to constantly trying to help people to improve and to
yeah.
do well. And I think this is why you make a great manager in terms of helping other
Oh, thank
people
you.
to progress. No, I think it's like real talk. It's good to have that conversation and like
Yeah,
credit when credit's due. And I think that listening throughout your story, it's been uh, an understanding, and it's actually you've already mapped out your career for you, and you know you're always going to continue to want to help other people. So,
yeah.
um,
That's my goal, is to help other people achieve their goal.
mm,
Even like we've had conversations of how you get this podcast started. I've spoken
yeah,
to like mutual friends Paul and Jack
yeah,
about their ideas, and literally that is what I enjoy doing. I
mm,
enjoy helping other people achieve their goals.
yeah,
There's and sometimes I know nothing about the subject at all, but I
yeah,
still would try and help them in whatever way I can, because sometimes you just need a different point of view to get somewhere. So.
perfect. I am going to literally just I'm not going to skip a few questions, but in terms of um, yeah, you've given some great examples, and I've got so much time for that. I just
Yeah.
want to move on to in terms of we've covered advice, but we what we'd give to people. But what's
Mm.
been the single most bit of advice, the best advice you've been given, and how you acted on that?
So it's again from like, I think, uh, my manager now, Ricky, when he first joined the team, as manager, he was like, he was a big believer in, you know, doing things outside your work hours. If you really want something, you've got to push yourself. And
Yeah,
that was the biggest bit of feedback. Like, I already was doing it, and I was already kind of like, um, trying to push myself. But he opened up a whole new world to me where he was showing me, right, this is how I do my one to ones. This is how I prepare for this. Is what notes I'm taking throughout the day. This is what I'm doing in the evening. This is what I'm doing. Like, and he, like, Ricky, he
yeah,
is
yeah,
like, he's always switched on. He is that person. So that just, it made me realize what level it was to be, to get to a manager position.
yeah,
And that was my biggest thing, was just, if you want to take your career seriously, you just, yeah, and progress at work, you just got to invest your time in yourself, and
yeah,
that be blogs, like online courses, watching YouTube videos, analyzing your work pattern, or you know just like organizing your day. Like, a big, like, one of the first things that I learned as a manager was making sure my timings were right, making sure I
mhm,
had enough time to do everything I have in the day. When I first was manager, I had 30 people, and
yeah.
if
It's
your
mad.
timings are off, like, you can't fit people in.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so that was a big thing, and that, you know, learning about, how to manage your time, how to, like, time blocking stuff, making things recur weekly, and that whole part of progression, because that helped massively.
yeah,
Because there's, like, managing 10 people is hard. Managing 30 people, because 30 people come with different goals, different levels of skill, different
yeah,
levels of interest, different levels of personal issues, different personality traits, different, like, opinions, different ambitions, and it all varies. And you've got to tailor your approach to every single one. You can't just go in and say, right, do everyone do this way, because you only hit one person with that. So,
yeah,
but yeah, that was the biggest bit of feedback I received. Is just like, if you want to progress, if you want to really do well and want to go with your great, you've got to do some things on your own time.
yeah,
Otherwise, it's not going to happen. And I've seen that. I've seen that firsthand, of
yeah,
people that have um, just not done enough, really.
yeah.
So,
That's no,
and that's, sometimes it's just, sometimes you need to be ready for it. Sometimes you need to want it. Like, I wanted it because I wanted a family, I wanted to buy a house. So I needed to do that progression. And sometimes there's not that motivation. Sometimes, you know, you're happy because you're content in your personal life, because,
yeah,
you have no, you don't want kids yet, or you, it might be you already have kids, you already have a house, you already have, your mortgage.
and sometimes that's okay, right? I think
Yeah, and
that's important.
that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. And I
So,
think in your existing, that's, and again, I think that's, very important to to
mm,
say and have that discussion of actually like it's okay to, be content because actually
yeah,
there may be something else and outside of your role,
yeah,
work life that, supplements that interest and that
yeah,
passion to
yeah.
continue coming to work every day. And
If you, being content is one of the and being happy with your life is one of
yeah,
the hardest things to achieve. And if you are that person who is content with, even, at least, even if you're just content or happy with the place you're at work, that is such a burden off your shoulders, because your work, if you work, 9 to 5, Monday for 37.5 hours a week,
yeah,
that is, that's your work. And if you're happy 37.5 hours a week, that's pretty good.
yeah,
Like, and you're
that's
content with
okay.
that. That's quite good.
Yeah,
Um, and then, if your other life, and if you're happy at work, it means you're not necessarily stressed as well, because you're probably happy with the money you're receiving, happy in the position you are in. Um, and if that's fine for
yeah,
you, that's really good. But if you're not happy, you got to put the work in.
yeah. Fair play, fair
Yeah,
play. In terms of putting the work in, and in terms of you say about pushing yourself and doing stuff in your own time,
yeah.
what's next for you?
What's next for me?
Yeah.
So
What do you want? How high can? Do you want to
So
climb? You know?
in terms of like, there's two points here. It's like I would want to get to a place like I don't know what that content is
Yeah.
because if you look up this quote that I have that I used uh, in one of my in my interview. Um,
Sorry.
sorry, I should have. Um,
No, no, no. It's fine. I mean, it's it's important to you obviously
yeah,
have a plan and you keep a log of you know
yeah.
what you want to do.
Uh, so it's Ralph Hasenhuttl, which is the manager of Southampton, and he's had a pretty bad spell at one point where he
Yeah.
lost 9-0 to Leicester,
That's it. Yeah.
and he was like literally like that must have been like I played football, and when you get an absolute battering, it is like soul destroying.
Yeah.
You go home and you just want to like. So I've been at football games, and this like we've been well beaten, and you just go on the way home. You're like, right, I'm going to KFC to
Yeah.
like, like
Let's
you
get some
shouldn't be.
chicken. I need some
Just get some
chicken.
chicken. Just need some chicken. But one thing he says is like, and one thing that make smaller steps and step by step start developing. So my small steps, I've not got a big goal. It's just a small step at each time, really. In terms of like career wise, in terms of football, not football, in terms of I'm just looking at football now.
That's
In
fine.
terms
You are an
of
Arsenal fan, so it's
yeah, yeah,
it's a
yeah.
long road.
Yeah, it's a long, long road of many small steps, some small steps and big steps backwards. But anyway, in terms of my time at Holland Extras, it's just right. What do I want to like? I want to get 3 or 4 years of management under my belt
Yeah.
within the team, and then go on to manage a different team. Maybe
Yeah.
move up, maybe a bit more like web-based team,
Yeah.
um, or something that is a bit higher up,
Yeah.
and then again, it probably do that for another 3 to 4, 5 years, and then see where I feel after that. I don't really, in terms of at the moment, I don't have any like long term goals as
Yeah.
such, but I do know that I want to be a manager because I enjoy that supportive role, and I think um, again part of my research into again one of the reasons why I applied to be a manager is because I saw the longevity in it is that people skills is one that's going to be in high demand as more and more work gets laid off to robots and AI
Yeah.
and machine learning. There will be one things technology can't do is relate to people that well.
Yeah.
When you call up a line and says say yes if you want to proceed, it can barely do that. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a long way of like understanding the complexities of someone if is having a bad day. So there's definitely a longevity in that because people skills are what's going to be needed because there still will be people involved in
Of
that
course. Yeah.
that the workforce who manage the robots or manage the systems. So that's what I saw in it, and that's where I would like to go with an HX is helping those people who manage the 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 systems, the AIs, the algorithms, helping them achieve their goals. So
Yeah.
like, right, I want to make the algorithm faster, I want to make the system faster, and
Yeah.
that's that. But in terms of like a dream job, an ultimate dream goal,
Yeah.
is like a creative consultant
Okay.
and just working to my own schedule, freedom to pick the jobs I want to do, be able to do that globally.
Yeah.
You know, speak to people who have ideas, be it from a new business idea, be like something creative, or they want to produce a play, or they want to develop a new, type of toenail clipper or something
Yeah.
like that. Just anything like
As
that,
you
and
said, like
yeah,
I, you know, it comes back to when you were younger
yeah,
and you touched on something where you'd always find a common ground. You'd always find something to talk about.
yeah,
And for your dream job now, in if you had a choice of okay, I'll pick that role, um, is again finding common ground with someone. And if they want to be
yeah,
an astronaut, you pick up the astronaut book and you find out about it.
yeah,
Um, and I just think. I just think from listening to you and hearing your paths, you learn so much. It shows your childhood's so important into
Yeah,
your development, and as you understand now with your little one, and you're gonna
yeah,
want to without quoting our values, but be the best version of her, and
yeah,
really help her out in her journey. So
yeah,
so important. Um, I'm gonna just lighten it up for you.
yeah.
Okay, so what's the funniest thing you've come across at work, and you've gone, oh, you
Oh,
can't stop laughing, and you think I got to walk out the room because I'm going to start crying. Like
oh, what's it? Is you know the taxi driver that reversed into the pond out the front? That
yeah,
was hilarious.
yeah.
That was absolutely hilarious.
So for some
Uh,
context, explain some context to that.
so we work on very nice grounds, and there's a pond out the front of out the main entrance, and often taxi drivers come up and pick people on their finish their shifts, and you know delivery drivers come away, and it's a tight. In order to get out, you need to go through the car park and back round, and then come back out. Really, you have to go to the bottom and turn round really to make it work.
Yeah,
So a taxi driver decided to instead trying to do a 3 point turn, and he just kept reversing way too far. And it's not like the pond's immediately as you come
no,
in.
no, no,
He would
yeah,
have to reverse a long while, and he was just in this pond, and it was like he didn't go fully submerged, but he just went the back end in, and he was like, I was like, how did you not see that? Because you would have the way you come into that the car park,
weather.
you see the pond on your left, so you can see it. And how he did not see that when he tried to reverse back round, that was hilarious because anyone that wasn't on the phone was out there taking pictures, and
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
the guy was so embarrassed, and yeah, that was quite a funny
Whether
moment.
he was wanted that real door to door service, like
Yeah, he
he's
was
just like,
trying to get right to the front.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna pick you up right on the doorstep.
yeah, he's probably following his sat nav.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't think I was there at that time.
No,
It's just like one of those urban myths of, oh yeah,
yeah,
do you remember the guy that reversed into the pond? Like, no, but I want to. Like,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and lastly, mate, I think um, if you could put your arm around your 16-year-old self
yeah.
and go, right, Nick, come here. What would you say to him?
So, like, I was thinking about this.
Hopefully there may be some people again who are a
Yeah,
bit younger listening, with podcasts, getting more and more popular, and so you may resonate with someone who's
yeah.
that age. So go on.
So when I was 16, I was a pivotal point in my like. I think I made a big decision when I was 16. So I was on
You
track
touched on it earlier.
to do kind of like science, physics, biology, history, maths, IT, and German at like 16 GCSEs. Got really good results, and then was going to do my A levels, and everyone was like, right, we think we should do history or like a science or maths or like German or ICT. Like you really got good results for it, and um, it was just like, and all my family obviously are doctors, teachers, I know businesses or priests or very like work in fields that are you know or work in like STEM related subjects
Yeah, yeah,
or fields, and I felt a huge amount of pressure to go that route, and I just it was just wasn't something I was enjoying. I wasn't enjoying it as much as I was. I got good results and I was good at it, but I wasn't enjoying it.
yeah.
And the art teacher that I previously had throughout my whole years was called Mr. Webb, and
Yes.
you know, he was the kind of art teacher that you would be doing a painting, and he'll come up behind you and he'll start doing it for you, and it kind of was like, hang on a second,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
yeah, and then when I was about to go to like there's like when you go to do your A levels, they give you like a taster class about what it's going to be about and what your year's going to look like. And I went to the art one because they had a new teacher, Mrs. Brew, who I'm still in contact with to this day,
nice.
and I still follow her on Instagram and you know reach out to her from time to time.
Yeah,
Um, and she just really opened my eyes. She did this presentation. It was like, these are all the jobs you could do when you if you do art. I literally like graphic designer. You could work in fashion. You can be this. You could be an artist. You can work in film. You can like. She literally laid on a whole host of it, and she was like, you can do anything. Whereas Mr. Webb was like, didn't really talk about that. He just wanted to finish your paintings for you.
Yeah.
So I, picked art based on her like presentation, and literally that kick-started my whole kind of thing into art. Like I got
Creativity and
I got hooked. I always used to doodle and sketch in my books, but I never no one ever said to me, right, this could be something. You could go
yeah.
somewhere with this. Um, obviously, I don't have an art job now, but
Mm.
it's still there's still creativity in my brain that helps me do my job I do now, and that opened my eyes up to that. Um, and that literally just changed my whole world. So I would say to my 16-year-old self, like, or anyone that's out there that's 16 and kind of think, do what you enjoy. And if you enjoy it, literally, it's easy. If you enjoy it, it's easy. Always
Yeah.
do what you enjoy, always. And how you feel is normal. It's normal to feel pressured in that situation when you're 16 and they're presenting all these options to you. But just go to the things you enjoy. And it's if you enjoy it, you're 80% there.
Yeah.
80% there if you enjoy it. 20% is the extra hard work that you need to do. But if you enjoy it, you're 80% there. And another thing that I would say to my 6-year-old self is because, you know, is arts for help. Because I think at times I try to, do it all myself,
Yeah.
um, and make sure that I was the person that, just because that was the kind of, um, upbringing I had was like, my mum did it all herself. My dad did it all himself. They, never seemingly like could see them physically asking for help. They probably did have help. They probably had loads of help,
Yeah.
but you. I think there's this thing where you idolize your parents as these figures of indestructibility, but they're human. They are
Yeah.
vulnerable. They are broken. They are have bad days. They have good days,
Mm.
um, and that's why I'm going forward. Like really important to show my daughter my vulnerable side to say did to feel these things are normal, to feel like down or to have a shit day at work or
Yeah.
to not get the job you wanted or not to have things go to the way you planned or, you know, to get kicked out, to storm out of Booker's is all normal, to bring it back right to the top. To storm out of Booker's is normal.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you will have these moments where you feel these things, and that's a normal way of feeling, and don't yeah, literally everyone on this earth is feeling the same
Yeah.
as you, or has felt the same as you, or will feel the same as you. So
There's
don't worry
a
about it.
there's a really and for anyone who is listening to go onto YouTube and type in look at Denzel Washington's positive speech.
Yeah, I've watched that before. That is really
Incredible,
inspiring.
and that fail forward. You don't
Yeah,
fail, you don't fall backwards. When you fail forward. And I think
yeah,
anyone who's wants that motivation or obviously
mm,
listen to this podcast,
mm,
but there's obviously have a look on YouTube as well. There's some really good stuff on there and some
yeah.
really good there's it's quite
To,
really just
to add to that, like that whole thing is like bring it back to art. What I learned through art is like it's just all about tweaking things. It's all about right. You don't like that one, right? We'll redo it. We'll make it again. We'll do it a little bit better. We'll try this. We'll try something different.
yeah,
And it's all about making mistakes. Like you don't think like Van Gogh at his first attempt created, his painting, his famous painting, the flowers, the sunflowers. He didn't do that on the first attempt,
no,
did he? He did that after many years of practice, getting things wrong, the
yeah,
wrong color, the wrong lighting. You know, he might have, went too heavy on a brushstroke, went too light on a brushstroke. That's always you have to make mistakes to get to thing. And even like within Hollow lectures, it's all about making mistakes.
yeah,
Think about many times that they roll out a product or roll out a system improvement and it doesn't work.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like back to
It's
the
all
drawing board.
about yeah, it's all about making mistakes. And if you don't make mistakes, you can never succeed.
Yeah, that's a really good way to finish. To be
Yeah,
honest with you, in terms of if you don't make a mistake, you're not going to succeed. And
yeah,
um, yeah, and mate, it's been amazing chatting to you, Nick,
Yeah,
and
it's been
finding out.
it's been like therapy. I feel like,
Yeah,
I've
it does feel like
discovered
it.
discovered things about myself. I feel
Yeah.
like, I should pay you somehow for helping me out through this.
This is my mock one I done with my other half last night,
Yeah,
and yeah, it felt like a like a counselling. But I think there's a good balance, between who you are as a person, and I think that's important to dig into and find out
yeah,
about who you are to understand why you make decisions that you've made and where you are
yeah.
now. And yeah, so thank you for one opening up and being able to
No.
share those stories. Do you have anything you want to? I know you do your podcast. Do you want to mention
Yeah,
anything on that?
so I do a podcast. It's called Hip Hop Choices. It's Hip Hop Choices from Assorted Voices. So I interview people who have an interest in hip hop, from casual listener to like um, people that obsess over it, and we just talk through like their different opinions about hip hop. It's really light-hearted. It's really kind of like nothing too serious, and it's just a nice chat about if you like hip hop, even if you don't like it, if you just like hearing people chat. It's really good. I'll send you links, Callum, so you can pop them in. But if you
Yeah,
search hip hop choices on the major streaming platforms, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, it'll show up. And we're also on YouTube as well if you like to watch the podcast on YouTube. So
perfect. Thank you, Nick. And also, if you haven't already, um, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Basically, the Work Smart Club. Um, if you subscribe on there, that would be fantastic. If you want to download any
I'm going to
my content.
subscribe because I'm not subscribed.
Yeah, so you need to subscribe. But and also, yeah, I'm on. Well, I've got my Instagram platform as well, and so yeah, if you want to follow that, then that would be fantastic. And yeah, stay tuned for more content. But I love you and leave you, and thank you very much, Nick. Thank you all for listening.
No problem. Thanks for
Until
having me.
Thank you. Until next time. Take care.